Okay, maybe iced fizzy shots aren't the best idea at this time, at this temperature. But I wonder why the Wi-Fi keeps going out. Didn't the same thing happen last night? I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, we just got to do the same thing that we did last night, which was start again. And what we're talking about is apparently Harvard write-in candidates for the university's second most powerful governing board, who were backed by Bill Ackman and the man behind Meta, Mark the Zuck. And I was about to wonder out loud. Start again, story of my life, Rick Salazar. Hey, Rick. Every day is a new opportunity to start over. Every day is a new opportunity. Look at that. That's what Bob Feller said. Every day is an opportunity to have a fresh start. All that counts is today, Rick. All that counts is that you start again. Hey, yo. What's a good quote for a fresh start? Every new beginning comes from some other beginning. Oh my gosh, really? Is that a song from a is that a lyric from a song? Closing time? Oh, Seneca. Really? Lucius Annius Seneca, often known simply as Seneca. I heard of him. A major philosopher from the Roman imperial period. He found he laid the foundation for the establishment of a body of literature on Stoicism and shaped how later generations were to understand Stoic thought. Wow. Every new beginning comes from some other beginnings and closing time. Hmm. Semisonic. I'm back, Lundos. They couldn't finish me. Here comes the rooster. Oh, yeah. You know he ain't gonna die. No, 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 no. You know he ain't gonna die. Life is full of little deaths and little rebirths. Which theme do you want to keep, Rick? Starting again. Little deaths, isn't that a code word for orgasm? That's why you got to practice semen retention so you don't have a little death. What's going on out there? Marcus Aurelius. He was the swelliest. Let's get back into this story here. The failure prompted some of them to complain that Harvard imposed obstacles that suppressed the vote, a charge the university flatly denies. Hmm. Oh, yeah, so the reason why I was about to comment about these stories that I get on my text message line, which is my cell phone, um, is RFK, who I'm gunning for, is also a. I wouldn't say he's a write-in candidate, but he's trying to get on the ballot. Ribbit. You know he ain't gonna he ain't gonna give up. Um, Something is wrong with this Instagram on the computer here. I guess they don't want me to sign on. They they don't want me. Anyway, I posted on my Instagram. Rick, you're on Instagram. I posted two RFK videos because the one video, which I posted on my TikTok, was too long for Instagram. Apparently, it's got to be 90 seconds now. I thought Instagram had you could have on you can have anything, but apparently on Instagram now it's got to be 90 seconds or less. So I broke it up into two videos, part one and part two. And so this gentleman who apparently has an MMA Mafia t-shirt, which I made before I left UFC, so it's a 15-year-old shirt. He said he had it, but he lost it. I said, you went against the family. But he was telling me, RFK is like a Ross Perot. You got to vote for Trump. I said, there's no way. I can't vote for Trump after how he handled the pandemic. RFK is anti vax, and that's the only issue that I need to know for my vote, even if it's a throwaway vote. I can't vote for Trump after what he did. And he said, what did he say? I can respect that. And to be honest, he says it doesn't even matter because New York is a blue state, regardless. Which I think is a good thing for RFK because he's kind of got blue tendencies. Anyway, the lady who I met at the meeting, the RFK New York meeting, um, she said something like RFK is going to take votes from the Republicans and the Democrats. If he wins, it would really be, to me, a verification of the prophecy of the golden age, the golden new age that's supposed to be coming, out of the Kali Yuga, that we're entering a golden new age or whatever. That would be evidence to me if RFK actually wins. Anyway, so that's why I think I got this article in the mail, so to speak. Normally, candidates for the 30-member Harvard Board of Overseers are nominated by the university's Alumni Association. However, that process was challenged this year by dissident candidates frustrated by the turmoil at Harvard. Ackman, taking a page out of his Wall Street and uh, out of his Wall Street playbook as an activist investor, backed a slate of four outsider candidates who are all U.S. military veterans between the age of 36 and 38. None of the candidates on the slate, known as Renew Harvard, were able to gather the required 3,238 votes, according to Logan Leslie, one of the candidates. Well, I think Harvard, without knowing anything, I would say they're most likely anti-military. Is that ASMR, me crunching ice in your ear? ZipRecruiter economist Julia Pollock said her campaign received 2,732 nominations in the span of just 3.5 weeks. We'll start earlier next time and are confident we'll succeed with your help, Pollock said in a post on X. It's not ASMR? Nah. Leslie, another Ackman-backed candidate, said his group came exceptionally close in a short amount of time. With another week, and without the obstacles that Harvard has in place that suppresses alum voting, we would have undoubtedly pulled it off. Ackman declined to comment. Facebook billionaire Zuckerberg held a virtual event post on X. Yeah. Oh, I get it. You're making a joke, Rick. You little troll, you. X, formerly known as Twitter. Ah! Yeah, they normally say that. Wow. This is a day in the books, history books. They finally stopped saying X, formerly known as Twitter. Zuckerberg held a virtual event late last month supporting Sam Lessin, another write-in candidate aiming to reform Harvard by trying to make it onto the ballot. What are they reforming, though? I'd like to know. A venture capitalist and former Facebook executive, Lessin told supporters Ribbit that his campaign fell just 337 votes shy of the required amount and expressed frustration with a broken process that prevented many alumni from voting. Dude, I am so smelly right now. This is bad. I came straight from the gym because I rearranged a bunch of shit. Ugh. I gotta get in the shower after this. Lesson has previously said that hundreds of Harvard alumni who wanted to back him were unable to do so because they were blocked by the university's online user credential system. There's absolutely no question in my mind that with a properly functioning election process, we would have secured those extra 337 votes and more. Lesson said, "This is not okay, and I intend to make sure that these issues are addressed." Go for it, bruh. Last week, Ackman accused Harvard of election interference, a charge echoed by Republican Representative Elise Stefanik, who said the university is inappropriately interfering with the election. Yeah, I'm not surprised, mother cluckers. These Harvard people. It's true that Harvard has made changes to how write in candidates can get on the ballot. However, those changes predated the recent turmoil at the university. A Harvard spokesperson told CNN that nothing about the process for collecting signatures to support petition candidates changed this year. For instance, in 2016, the threshold for signatures was increased to 1% of the prior year's eligible voters, and the process was moved online. Despite that new threshold, in 2023, write in candidates were able to get elected to the Board of Overseers. In fact, four of the current members of the Board of Overseers were write in candidates who met the signature threshold. All right, well, just seems like, like what I said before, it's the fact that they couldn't get enough votes because Harvard is anti military. Meanwhile, Harvard announced fresh faces for the Harvard Corporation, the even more powerful board that. Are we into this, guys? Are we into this at all? I'm not. I'm going to move on. Sorry, Harvard. Sorry, Charlie. We're going to go from Harvard to, Medicare ancient arcade game. What? Ancient arcade of games played for thousands of years discovered. An ancient arcade of game boards carved into rock has been discovered by an archaeologist from Yale University in Kenya. The researcher Veronica Wawaru. Try and say that 5 times fast. Wawaru. Noticed rows of shallow pits drilled into a rock ledge at a site along the equator in the East African nation's Central Highlands. Wawaru, who is the director of undergraduate studies with the Council on African Studies at Yale's Macmillan Center, believes the pits were used by ancient people to play a version of Mancala, a family of two-player turn-based strategy board games that are still enjoyed across the world today. These types of games are played with small stones, beans, seeds, marbles, or another type of counter. They're placed in rows of holes on a board constructed of various materials, or alternatively, pits dug into the earth or carved into stone. Evidence suggests that the origins of Mancala type games stretch back thousands of years. Examples have been uncovered at ancient Egyptians' archaeological sites as well as in other parts of Africa. Wararu has identified about 20 Mancala style game boards that appear to be of differing ages at the Kenyan site. Some of the pits carved into the rock are deep enough to comfortably hold a handful of stones, whereas others have eroded so much that they are very shallow. This suggests that some of the pits are older than others, according to the archaeologist. In fact, some of the more recent examples are superimposed on earlier counterparts. It's a valley full of these game boards. Isn't it fascinating? How do they figure this stuff out? Like, how do you figure out that some recent ones are superimposed on earlier ones? Hmm. It's not like Tupperware that can stack and you could see it because it's clear or whatever. It's a valley full of these game boards like an ancient arcade, Waruru said in a press release. Given the erosion of some of the boards, I believe people were playing these games there a very long time ago. Exactly how long the game boards were created remains something of a mystery, though. The Kenyan site lies within a private wildlife conservancy that sits in a low lying basin surrounded by highlands. Water flows into the basin from the highlands. There is always a water source there, Waruru said. That could be a reason why very early human ancestors came there. It's been occupied over and over again throughout time. Within the last 10,000 years, people played Mancala there. Dating the game boards precisely is challenging because the rock they're carved into is about 400 million years old. What? How do you know? But the researcher said modern people in the region tend to play games like Mancala when they're out herding. That's probably what they were doing here. People tend to look at early life as brutish, nasty, and short, but perhaps life was not all about survival. Hmm. The herding societies were in the region about 5,000 years ago at the earliest. Well, the rocks at the site that play wear marks consistent with the sharpening of metal knives. If they're sharpening knives there, they're probably feasting and performing butchery and barbecuing. She found the site because tourists were looting the area for um, I guess tools. Let's move on. Uh, I'm gonna take a shower at midnight because I gotta wake up. Dr. Job is gonna call. I'm gonna record that. I'm not gonna stream it because I don't know why. Because of the wonderful things he does. Okay, so here we go. Some more games. NFC downs AFC in NFL Pro Bowl after flag football game in display of future Olympic sport. Flag football is enjoying a renaissance of kinds, and Sunday was evidence of the feats elite athletes can achieve in the non contact version of the sport. In the conclusion of the NFL's Pro Bowl weekend on Sunday, in which the best of the two conferences are pitted against one another in a series of skill competitions culminating in a flag football game, it was the NFC who came out on top. Their cumulative 64 to 59 victory over their AFC counterparts at Camping World Stadium in Orlando came after an eventful 4 days in Florida. Oh shit, my neck's hurting. Over which points are accumulated throughout all events and calculated toward a total score. It's picking a callus off my finger. I don't know why I'm doing that. Nervous tick, maybe. With flag football introduced last year in an effort to reduce the chances of injuries and increase competitiveness, players appeared to buy into the idea on Sunday, with the stars of the NFL wowing with athleticism and precision like they'd been doing all season. After days of competition, the overall title came down to a game sealing play from Chicago Bears cornerback Jalen Johnson, who managed to deflect a pass from Texans quarterback C.J. Stroud on fourth down with 4 seconds remaining and clinched the championship despite losing the flag football game 50-34 to the AFC because the NFC had won the skill games 30-9. It won the overall weekend. Hmm. So if so if they scored again, they would have got 21 points. 50-34. The difference there is what? 16? Oh no, reconnection successful. Am I still on YouTube, guys? Let me see if it catches up. This freaking Wi-Fi, man. Oh, I'm still here. Thank you, Rick. Thanks for being here, bro. Um, I don't know. Really, football though. Let's move on because there's one more story. It's kind of has to do with football. They played for their country in their 20s. By their 40s, they had early onset dementia after playing this physical sport. Oh my God. By the time Alex Popham had reached his late 30s, he was finding some day to day tasks confusing and difficult. That really sucks. Popham's wife Mel would have a conversation with her husband, and an hour later he'd have no recollection, he tells CNN Sport. Okay, let's blame it on CTE. He can't remember what his wife said. I shouldn't joke. Should not joke. This is a serious issue. I'm sorry, Mr. Popham. I was putting it down to kids' everyday living. I was making excuses, says Popham, now a 44-year-old father of three and a business owner. Then in September 2019, Popham went on a bike ride, got lost, and blacked out. Sheesh. A former professional rugby union player, Popham started playing the sport at an early age of 4, and it quickly became his life. By the age of 6, 7, I realized, and people realized, that I was pretty good at it. Popham, who played for top clubs in France, Wales, and England, and represented his home country, Wales, at 2 Rugby World Cups. My memory of playing and specific games is not really there. I've got no feelings or memories of being in stadiums, he says. Oof. Lenny Woodard followed a similar trajectory to Popham, starting rugby at 10. Both men went on to earn a living from the sport they loved. By the time they had reached their 40s, their professional sporting careers ended, and both of them and their families soon noticed something was very wrong. Woodard worked as a salesman and began experiencing similar issues to his compatriot. I was losing track of conversations. People were telling me something, and then I forgot what they said. I'd have to ask them to repeat the question, says Woodard, who represented Wales in the 2 rugby codes of union and league. I'd forget their name even though I'd been speaking to them 2 minutes before. I'm kind of bad with names. I think it's just because I'm self-centered and I don't. I'm trying to be more considerate and caring of others. Both men saw doctors and within months were given the same devastating news. Not only did they have early onset dementia, but also probable chronic traumatic encephalopathy, a neurodegenerative disease associated with repeated head trauma. Popham was just 40 and Woodard 45. The neurodegenerative brain disease CTE, which can only be formally diagnosed after death and autopsy, is pathologically marked by an abnormal buildup of a protein called tau in the brain that can disable neuropathways and lead to a variety of clinical symptoms, including memory loss, confusion, impaired judgment, aggression, depression, anxiety, impulse control issues, and sometimes suicidal behavior. Mm. So, of those, one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, of those 8 symptoms, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have all 8. Popham and Woodard are two of more than 450 current and former rugby players who have now joined lawsuits to take legal action against governing body World Rugby and the national governing bodies of England and Wales, the Rugby Football Union, and the Welsh Rugby Union. Popham and Woodard are two of more than 450 current and former rugby players who have now joined lawsuits to take legal action against global governing body World Rugby and the national governing bodies of England and Wales, the Rugby Football Union, and the Welsh Rugby Union. Make them pay! Make them pay, Popham and Woodard! We're on your team. Trying, you already do. Yeah, I try. I try to do it. An existential threat to the game. Lawyers for the plaintiffs say there was a failure to protect them from permanent injury caused by repeated head injuries and concussions during their careers. Hmm. I wonder what other sport has repeated head injuries and concussions? Hmm? What's another sport? These governing bodies, the claimants allege, were negligent in failing to take reasonable action in order to protect players from permanent injury caused by repetitive concussive and subconcussive blows, according to a press release sent to CNN Sport by attorneys for the plaintiffs. Richard Boardman, the lawyer representing the claimants, told CNN Sport that this is causing an existential threat to the game. That's right, and it should. It should be a threat. Because why? Why is rugby a thing? Why is football a thing? Why is MMA a thing? When it's causing repetitive, concussive, and subconcussive blows. And people making money off it. In a joint statement sent to CNN Sport, World Rugby, the RFU, and WRU said they could not comment on the ongoing legal proceedings. Yeah, of course not. Does Doyle have and like his head doctor? What do you mean by that, Rick? Does Doyle have CTE or does Doyle have a head doctor? What are you asking me? You can rephrase that, please. Player welfare has been and will continue to be our top priority. And we constantly strive to safeguard our players, acting on the science and evidence, yeah, right, enacting our 6-point plan to make rugby the most progressive sport in the world in this area. Does Doyle have and like his head doctor, psychiatrist? I think he told me sorry, he has a nurse practitioner. I think he is a nurse practitioner. I saw an article today. Actually, it's Newsday, and the article was, I didn't get to read it or take a picture of it, which I wanted to do. Take a picture of it because my phone had left my phone in the car. But basically, the headline today was that nurses are taking over for doctors. Like, it's hard to get a doctor these days, and most of the time it's a nurse or a PA, physician's assistant, who's doing all the work. All right, here we go. Finish strong. The organizations noted that the sports head injury assessment during games, which follows a three-stage process to assist with the identification, diagnosis, and management of head impact events with the potential for a concussion, are 90% accurate when diagnosing a concussion. 90%? You got a 1 in 10 chance? Ooh, I don't know. Citing a paper published in the Springer Scientific Journal. But experts warn that such protocols don't really address the issue of playing collision based sports and repeated head trauma. Hello! As far as the brain is concerned, it doesn't matter what sport is played. Michael Gray, a neuroscientist at the University of East Anglia, told CNN Sport, if we get a knock to the body, Master Lukey's paying attention now. If we get a knock to the body that causes a wobble of the brain inside the cranium, that's going to produce some damage. Ooh, there goes my whole theory about no head contact. Holy, no wonder Dr. Jubb's telling me to throw it away. He said, give it up, forget about the league. Oh, man. My whole life, my whole last 15 years, and I abandoned my family for this concept. For this dream, I let my kids be raised by another man. How's that? What kind of man am I? I gave up my family for nothing. Cut it out, Rick? I mean, I'm not saying anything that's not true. I abandoned my family when I could have just got a regular job instead of living in a basement and working at a gym for no money, trying to become a promoter, going nowhere, and letting my kids just slip away to the point where now they don't even want to see me anymore. That's what I get. Kill me now. Chris Nowinski, an advisor to the National Football League Players Association (NFLPA) and founding CEO of the Concussion Legacy Foundation, told CNN Sport that head injury protocols need to go beyond treating concussion. There's a very straight linear correlation between head impacts and CTE. Oh, hold on. I don't want to admit that I'm wrong, so I'm gonna latch on to anything that gives me a brief, no matter how tiny, glimmer of hope that I can still make the league happen. Uh, so what I'm saying is, um, Chris Nowinski said head impacts in CTE. And there's studies that will suggest that for every one concussion the American football player suffers, they'll have 300 hits that are harder than that concussion. What? That doesn't make sense. For every one concussion that they have 300 hits that are harder. I don't get it. Wouldn't they have 300 concussions then? Nowinski, a World Wrestling Entertainment wrestler turned neuroscientist, explains that because the brain doesn't have pain nerves, a person can't necessarily feel when it's being damaged, and therefore most brain injuries don't produce the symptoms that would be detected by HIA. More money laundering, right? They're selling this HIA because they have a bunch. Where is it? HIA. Where's the HIA? Where's the HIA? Head injury assessment. They probably got a lot of money invested in the HIA papers and people and maybe tools, products. They don't want to admit it. Just like me. I don't want to admit that I'm wrong because I invested so much. God damn it! Nowinski told CNN Sport that in most professional sports, head injury protocols are not designed to be safe. They're designed to allow the business of the game to move forward in a way that's agreeable for the players. Ann McKee, director of the Boston University CTE Center, has also previously told CNN Sport that subclinical hits, the non concussive injuries that aren't detected, you don't pull the player off the field, and they can be in the hundreds or even in the thousands in a single season. Hmm. Falling asleep. Rugby split into two main codes, Rugby League and Rugby Union, which went professional in 1995. Since the sport went professional, players have become stronger, bigger, and faster, and more juiced. In 1955, mean male player body mass was about 187 pounds. By 2015, it had increased to 232 pounds. Holy! That is a huge difference. 232 to 187 is 32 plus 13. A 45-pound difference. Yo! Sheesh. The rugby lawsuit comes a decade after the NFL reached a $765 million settlement in a case involving more than 4,500 players who accused the league of failing to warn and protect them from the long term risks of repetitive traumatic brain injuries, despite being aware of the evidence and associated risks. The NFL denied any wrongdoing, but according to NFL.com, Commissioner Robert Goodell told lawyers to do the right thing for the game and the men who played it. To date, NFL parties have paid out over $1 billion in monetary awards as part of the program. $1 billion. The agreement provides up to $5 million per retired player for serious medical conditions associated with repeated head trauma. The NFL publicly acknowledged the connection between American football and CTE for the first time in 2016. Apparently, rugby players face regular head trauma on a scale far greater than those in the NFL, given that more games are played and contact in training is not limited like it is in American football. Mm. Hmm. What do you guys think? I think I'm done, guys. My eyes are falling asleep. My eyes are falling down. Where is the wobble though? Researchers found that the risk of CT pathology was associated with the length of a player's career, noting that each additional year of play added 14% to the risk of CT, regardless of whether a player was amateur or elite and their position or level of participation. The men whose brains were donated for a study had an average rugby career length of around 18 years. So let's see. I left UFC. I got my first professional fight in 2000. It's 2024. So I'm 24 years in. Now, of course, I'm not getting hit directly in the head anymore, but apparently, me getting hit in the body and even wrestling is a concussion sport, right? October, World Rugby announced it will advance the head injury assessment by introducing in game alerts linked to smart mouth guards to show if a player has experienced a high level of acceleration, which could lead to an injury. Oh man. However, the former rugby players point out there's a pressure to carry on playing even after sustaining a head injury. Mm. Rugby players are gladiators. Can you be here 9 a.m. to 2 p.m.? Oh, I got to babysit tomorrow. Okay. Oh man, I hope I can sleep tonight. Dr. Job wants to call. Oh god. Oh god. Woodard said he's now dealing with a steep decline in his cognitive function. When I go to pick my kids up, I want to take them to a park or a trampoline. I can't compute how to get there, even though I lived in the same place for 40 years. I could have did it 5 years ago. Perfect. Parents aren't told this. My mom broke down when I got my diagnosis, saying she shouldn't have sent me to rugby. I said, "You weren't told, you weren't informed." And that's still the case to this day. I don't think parents are given the correct information. I think I'm done, guys. You know how I feel about head injury, but now we got another issue. Brain injury from non-contact. Brain injury from non-head contact. Holy. On that note, I'm going to end it, guys. I got some serious thinking to do. Maybe fasting will help me come to a realization. If you think of anything, send me a text, send me a DM. Go to masterluki.com if you're watching, or if this is your first time watching. You can find all my contact information there, and I'll be back tomorrow with the news. Have a great night. Over and out. Thanks, Rick. Thanks, Londos.